All right, you just heard me play the Schroeder Etude for the West Virginia Middle School Allstate auditions. I'm going to walk you through a few teaching points that I would be looking for if you were playing this for me. The first one is something that is in the music at the very beginning, and it says UH. A lot of times we accidentally interpret that in our English-speaking world as upper half, meaning up here. But actually it's an abbreviation for a German word that means lower half. So please don't play this etude up here. We actually want to probably use we want to use the balance point. So if we find that balance point on our bow, which mine is about right here, I'm going to play it in that area. The other thing that I'm looking for is something called a détaché bow stroke. So we want our arm to be free, our elbow to be free, and our fingers to be free. And we're actually going to hinge from our elbow. That's the main part of that bow stroke. So it looks something like this. Sometimes I see this. That means you're using your whole arm instead of letting your elbow be relaxed and then hinge from that elbow. So the next thing that I want to point out to you is on line 3, measures 3 and 4. There's a lot going on there. The first thing I want to point out is that in measure 4, that is an F sharp on the downbeat. It's not an F natural. If you look at your key signature, it's an F sharp. So you might be thinking, oh, easy peasy. I'll just stretch my fourth finger to get there. No! Remember, we never, ever, ever stretch our fourth finger for anything in cello playing. If we want to do an extension or a stretch, we have to put the big stretch or a big space between 1 and 2 always. So what that means in this situation is that we are actually going to shift up to the F sharp and then do a backwards extension for the A. Let me walk you through that. So at the end of that measure, of measure 3 of the third line, we have that open string. We're going to use that opportunity to shift over and up to the F sharp there. So shift. Okay, and notice that my thumb and second finger remained friends that whole time. So I'll do that again slowly. Over and up. Okay, then from here, I'm going to point back my 1 and do that backwards extension. So from the F sharp position, I'm going to point back my 1 and then get the A. So slowly it looks like this. Shift, point. I'll do that faster now. So again, the most important thing to remember in that section is that we actually don't want to reach, we don't want to extend for that fourth finger. We want to shift up and over to the C string for that F sharp, and then we're going to point our 1 back for the A. Let's look now to the second to last line of this etude, measures 3 and 4. There's a lot going on there as well. First of all, I want to point out to you at the end of measure 4, there is an extension from the A to the F sharp. So watch my video about the D major scale and extensions to know how to do that. Okay. The next thing that happens in this section is something called walking fingers. So let me take you through how I teach people to have walking fingers. The first principle that we must have in place is something called EWP. Elbow, wrist, pinky of your left arm and hand have to always be in one line. So that might mean on the A string the elbow might be back a little bit. It looks very different on the C string. I have to bring it around to keep that in place. If I don't do that, do you notice how my line gets broken? Or similarly like this. I see that a lot too. So we have to have EWP in place, and that has to rebalance on every finger. The other principle that's really important with a walking fingers situation is that we want to be able to rebalance over every finger as well. So when we're on 4th finger, we're here, but when we're on 1st finger, we're here. So we have to have a tiny bit of this rocking motion here in the forearm. So 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a very fluid motion and it's really subtle. It's not, doesn't have to be very exaggerated, but I do think it will help you with what I'm about to show you with walking fingers. Walking fingers is when we're playing a finger, and while we're doing that, we're moving the other one over to the next string. So for example, while I would be playing 4th finger, I'm going to get my 1st finger ready to go to play on the D string. So you're doing that as you're playing the 4th finger, and you're walking the 1st finger over. To practice walking fingers, what we want to do is we want to have all 4 fingers on the C string. Check your EWP. We're going to leave all 4 fingers on the C string except for 1st finger, which we're going to move over to G. Then we're going to keep 3 and 4 on the C string and move 2 over to G. Then 3, then 4. And we're going to continue like that all the way up to the A string. Now you really want to make sure that your thumb is not pressing up this way, right? Thumb needs to be free. Then you can do the opposite. Starting from the A string, you can go down. Looking at our spot again, the second to last line, measures 3 and 4, we have an opportunity to put walking fingers into practice. So here's what those 2 measures would look and sound like without walking fingers. And here's what it would sound like if, while you're playing the 4th finger, you get the 1st finger walking over to the A string. Here's what that would sound like. Do you hear the difference? Do you hear how it sounds so much more fluid and free?